Hello, everybody. I propose that we start this workshop as we are already a bit late. I'd first like to introduce myself. I am Thomas Bignell, Policy Advisor at the European Association of Service Providers for Persons with Disabilities. And I work on the policy front and I engage a lot with the European Union, the Council of Europe, and in supporting our members in their national engagement with stakeholders. I would first like to present a few important points from our webinar today, just to make sure we are all on the same line. I'm not sure if anyone can see my presentation yet. There we are. So, first of all, today's webinar is focusing on a promising practice or an excellent practice from Eker and Tohum in Turkey. And they were shortlisted as part of our Employment for All award, which we do every few years, showing excellent practices in the employment of people with disabilities across Europe. And Eker and Tohum were shortlisted on the business category for their excellent practice. And we will hear from them shortly. But before that, if you want to listen to or hear or read the subtitles, as I'm English and sometimes I speak too quickly, as most British people do, make sure you activate the subtitles by clicking on closed caption button at the bottom of your screen. Please also make sure that you keep your video off and your microphone on mute. Of course, you may have questions, and that's very much welcomed, but please post your questions in the chat box, and I will come back to them after the presentation by Nehir and Alperen, and we will try and do our best to answer your questions, but please post them in the chat box, and I will try and go through them. And you can, of course, download our conference app at the bottom. So activate your subtitles. Please keep your video and microphone on mute, and please post your questions in the chat box. So we will now hear from Nehir and Alperen, a presentation of about 20-25 minutes, going through their promising practice. And after that, we will have a question and answer with you afterwards. So please make sure you ask your questions in the chat. Alperen, Nehir, would you like to present yourself and then do your presentation?
Yes, we have presentation. Nehir presented.
Excuse me? Alperen, I couldn't understand you. So.
Okay, let's start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm a continuing education coordinator in Tohum Autism Foundation in Turkey. We will mention the foundation throughout the presentation, so I didn't talk more deeply. And Alperen?
Hello, everyone. I'm a project leader of Eker dairy mill, dairy products, and I'm really happy to share our project with all participants.
Okay, thank you. And let's get started our presentation. First of all, I want to share my screen with you and okay. So, I want to show you our content. We'll start with data on autism and characteristics of individuals with autism. Then we mention that how the Eker's journey began, how the project began for Eker, and then we mentioned job coach supported employment model, which is used by our project. Projects, processes of employment and achievements achievements and financial aspects of aids we mentioned. Let's get started.
Okay. First of all, I want to give you a brief information about ESD and its characteristics. Autism spectrum disorder is neurodevelopmental disorder that comes from birth and emerges in the first 3 years of life. According to the autism diagnostic criteria in DSM-5, Autism characteristics consist of two core features: deficits in social and communication skills, and restricted repetitive behaviors and interests. The prevalence of autism is 1 in 59, based on CDC data. In Turkey, there is no study on the statistics of autism. And therefore, when we made projection of CDC data to the population of Turkey, it's seen that between age of 0 to 19, there are 430,000 children as adolescents and 950,000 adults older than 19 years old. Can you guess how many individuals with autism who are above 19 years old have a job? Unfortunately, only 28 individuals with autism are employed. 30%, which means 8 of them, are employed in our project, Autism in Workforce.
So, excuse me.
According to the research that was done by an association in France, cost of an individual with autism to government per 1 year was 100,000 euros without employment. And it was 35,000 euros with employment. That's a really big difference.
Okay, thank you, Alperen. And I will go on with the strengths of individuals with autism. Some of the characteristics of autism turn to be strengths in perspective of employment. So now I would like to ask you a quick question. What kind of features do an employer bear in the mind when hiring an employee? Well, popular answers may be punctuality, efficiency, loyalty, or hardworking. As you may also notice that the features of ideal employee are also matched with the features of individuals with autism. So the possible logical question would be, why not hiring individuals with autism? I want to now go further with the strengths of these individuals. Once the individuals with autism are taught to perform job duties, they work in full concentration in a long period of time. They do detailed and systematic and errorless work. Individuals with ASD also love routines, and they are highly adaptable to tasks that require high concentration and repeated actions such as data entry, housekeeper, cashier, and so on. Because the fact that these jobs are seen as boring for many people, it is an advantage for an employer to hire an individual with autism for these jobs in order to have long-lasting personnel. When it is said that they are routine lovers, it is also intended that they learn easier with routines, and they have also desire to complete the task punctually that the routine brought. Therefore, they would be one of the most successful and efficiently working employee in these routine jobs. If individuals with autism get used to particular rules that determine their tendency to obey and follow the rules, in fact, they can learn written and visual rules more easily, such as take off your shoes sign or enter with bonnet sign, and so on. For instance, if the note on the door reads, do not enter, they wouldn't enter from that door, probably. Also, individuals with autism do not have ambitions as get more salary or promotion or mean intentions that business life brings out. So they are loyal to their jobs, and they work high dedication and integrity. After description of some strong characteristics of individuals with autism, I would like to state the features of these individuals that may push the employer to take precautions and make some adaptations about the employees or workplaces. You can see weaknesses the individuals with autism in the slides. First, individuals with autism are lacking of social communication and interaction skills. They have difficulty in starting and holding conversation. They may be unable to understand jokes, metaphors, or body language. For instance, if you say, I'm hungry, as a bear, they misunderstand that you are in a bear type and hungry. So you have to be you have to be straight sentences, and you have to say in short and excuse me. So individuals actually beside that, previously we started individuals with autism love routines. So as you can understand from that, they have a low tolerance to spontaneous change. They are low in adapting sudden change. Some brief information should be given before the change to make adaptation to new situation easier. You will see examples of informative words in further slides. Individuals with autism perceive world differently. This is because their sensory input system works differently. They usually have sensory sensitivities, which means they may perceive the intensity of sounds, lights, and textures more or less than how we perceive them. If there are conditions in the company as high sound, bright light, and etc., should be taken precautions by the employee. On the other hand, in the workplace, some regulations should be done in order to minimize the possibility of occupational accidents. You will see the examples in the further slides. We mentioned that they are good at doing their jobs accurately. Yes, they do, but first, we have to teach them how to do it. They have deficits in sequencing the steps or organizing. Therefore, there should be an acquisition process when they first start the job. They probably cannot conduct the job independently, so the employer should consider the situation. The employer should take into consideration the stereotypical behaviors as well, because some of these behaviors may be ignored, but some are not. Therefore, the employer should hire a job coach in order to decrease the stereotypical behavior or ignore the stereotypes. It is the thing that the employee should decide. Also, occupational health and safety may be another handicap for employer. In our context, we are talking about individuals with ASD, so the legal procedure and necessities become more essential. In Turkey, there are not any specific sections of occupational health and safety guideline or in law about ASD, so legal procedure is unclear too. Okay, the weaknesses are mentioned about individuals with autism, but there's also the things that they contribute the company as well. So as we mentioned strengths about autism, we emphasize that they work in full concentration, in detail and efficiently. These features also address the contributions of the individuals from the perspective of the company. Their efficient working leads to the increase other employees' performances, and as a result, company's productivity increases. We evaluate that in our project. So we can easily call this is as win-win situation. On the other side, the regulations that are done while hiring the individuals with autism are beneficial for the other employees that have disabilities too. So it contributes the good governance of the company. As a result of that, the employees' belongingness and dedication to the company would also increase. Also, in terms of awareness standpoint, employees of the company will get familiar with individuals with autism at the workplace, and they will be more respectful to people who have differences. The advantages of having individuals with autism in the company is not specific to inner functioning. They have also positive effect on cooperating communication, the company is seen more trustworthy by customers and because their approach about social responsibility. So, Alperen.
I can't see my slides now.
Couldn't you see the screen share?
I can't show. I can't see my slides.
No.
I reshared the screen, so can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see. Okay. How the journey began in Eker? After realizing this big picture and seeing that the number of individuals with autism is increasing day by day, we started to think, how can we contribute the employment of individuals with autism as Eker? It's decided by the Eker's managers that a total of 12 individuals with autism and their job cards can be placed in the factory in 3 to 4 years. In order to make this project official, private sector and NGO collaboration protocol signed with Tohum Autism Foundation to touch the lives of individuals with autism together. We wanted to work with Tohum in this project because they are the leader of the field. They have systematic implementation and scientific view. In the context of collaboration, leader of the project receives consultancy from Tohum Autism Foundation Special Education School for 3 months. Okay. As soon as the project kick off, project coordinator from Tohum, Nehir started her visits to provide guidance to Autism in Workforce Department in Eker twice a month. These supervision visits are still happening, except, of course, during the COVID-19 closures. As Eker, we are proud of what we have done for employing 8 individuals with autism at this point. However, this is not the final destination for us. Our milestone is employing 12 individuals with autism in our factory and also reach to our main purpose of spreading our employment model to NGO, public, private sector throughout the country. By doing this, we will have a chance to change more lives of individuals with autism and their families. We will reduce the cost of these individuals to the government by including them in the workforce. Okay, let's watch our journey. We have a video.
Otizm bir hastalık değil, bir farklılıktır. Otizmli bireyler iyi eğitimle fark yaratır. Eker ailesi olarak otizmli bireylerin topluma kazandırılması ve ailelerinin geleceğe yönelik kaygılarının giderilmesine ön ayak olmak adına Tohum Otizm Vakfı'nın destekleriyle örnek bir istihdam projesini hayata geçirdik. Otizmli bireyler Eker'le iş gücünde. Birçok farklı sektör için uygulanabilir nitelikte kurgulanan bu proje, hem otizmli bireylerin özgüvenini pekiştirmeyi hem de üstün odaklanma kabiliyetlerini iş verimliliğine dönüştürmeyi hedefliyor.
2 aylık bir adaptasyon sürecini planladık. Yani direkt otizmli birey gelir gelmez işe başlamadı. Öncelikle işin prototipini çalışma odasında gerçekleştirdi. İşe ve iş yerine alıştıktan sonra fabrikada üretime geçtiler.
Üretim, köfmeli, bangüle, ayran, yoğurt. Her şeyi paketliyorum yani. Eker gitar, sistem için fatırıyor.
Eker'de burada çalışmakta çok mutluyum. Ailemle ve iş koçlarımla da çok mutluyum.
Eker'de çilekli yoğurt paketliyorum. Eker'de çilekli puding yapıyorum. Duygular anlatmayla zaten olmuyor. Duygular hissedilmeyle olur. Memnunum. Memnuniyetimi yani anlatmak değil, yazmak değil, hissetmekle oluyor.
Gerçekten hani bu kadarını hayal edememiştik yani böyle bir organizasyon gerçekten Türkiye'de çok önemli bence. Daha da benzeri yok sanırım.
Yani şaşırttılar bizi. Yani kısa dönemde adapte oldu. Çok seviyor, evet.
Severek geliyor. Bu ailelerin en büyük endişesi zaten hani ya bizden sonra bu çocuklar ne olacak sorusu. Herkes bunun cevabını arıyor.
Projemizi başarılı ve sürdürülebilir kılma hedefiyle çalışma ve sosyal faaliyet alanlarımızı otizmle çalışanlarımızın ihtiyaçları doğrultusunda şekillendiriyoruz. Eker olarak başlattığımız bu projeyi devlet destekleriyle büyütüp otizmle çalışan sayımızı her geçen yıl artırmayı ve ülkemizde bu alanda büyük bir farkındalık yaratmayı hedefliyoruz. Amacımız bu projenin tüm iş dünyasına kılavuz olabilecek bir model haline dönüşebilmesi. Çünkü biliyoruz ki farklılıklar fark yaratır.
Nehir, we can't hear you. Or at least I can't.
Okay. Okay now?
Perfect, yeah.
Okay. I said that this video, every time I watch the video, it's sensitively affects me, so I have my goosebumps. So let's continue. Job code supported employment. Why do we choose that model? I want to explain that for you. Before choosing the model, the circumstances in company and the benefits of individuals was considered. The most appropriate model for company determined as job code supported employment model. Because the procedure consists of 5 elements: cognitive support, occupational health and safety, sensory planning, communication and social skills, and behavior intervention. These 5 areas are important to us to contribute. So actually we have when we use this model, we see the significant difference and improvements in individuals with autism. So we are in the right way. We understand that we are in the right way. So what is the process of the employment? The process of employment is first preliminary preparation. In this process, we Eker did collaboration with NGO and team up with supervisor and job coach, and also personals. Awareness raising training. They do awareness raising seminars in factory for other personnel to be aware of the situation. They determine work situation, which is packaging area. They regulate the workplace and do some preparation for the individuals with autism. They take precautions for occupational health and safety. You will see the pictures of them. Listening the necessary skills is very important, because we said that we have to make some teaching period, some acquisition period in the employment process. So we list the jobs, we list the work stream, and for teaching them to the personnel with autism. So you can see here in working area, studying area, not working area, it's studying area, which is the daily life skills or job skills will teaching in that area. And there is a resting area for the meal times. They come here and rest for 1 hour. You can see the work stream, one of the work streams. We sequencing the job. We explain step by step the process and teach them by step. Okay. Also, you can see before the employment of individuals with autism and after the employment of individuals with autism, the workplace was very untidy and complex area to find what is where. So now you can see it's more clear, more tidy, and easy to integration the workplace. So it's health and safety precautions. We put some hand signs on the doors that personnel go walk or wait in order to make personnel walk or stay in there to wait their job codes. And you see the food signs to remind that where to walk. And also you see the red line in front of doors. It is because the door may crash the personnel, so it's in order to prevent them from that kind of accidents. And the second process, which is recruitment. In this process, they compilation of applications. They evaluate the applicants, so they try to select the most appropriate applicants for the job, and and also if the applicants is okay, then hiring procedure begins. They want some sheets or some documents for the hiring process. Also, they go to homes and do interviews with the families, and also they call families to come to factory to briefing and to introduce the environment of the factory. And the third one is adaptation. Planning and informing is one of the first actions in the work time. They in the morning they come to the factory and they introduce. They are briefing about planning and information about that day's program. The transportation would the transportation and done. Teaching workplace rules are reminded to personnel, teaching common areas, time management, teaching social communication skills, and workplace working skills. Assigned tasks are in this adaptation process. We teach all these points to the personnel with autism. You can see the motivation systems of the individuals. In the left side, you see their motivation systems. You can see in the above, not above, it's you can see under the page that it's the timer. The timer is motivation system, like you push the arrow and then you can earn the points. According to the points that they earned, they receive their motivations or not. Maybe they try again, or if they reach the point, then they receive the award or motivation. These are the activity schedules of the individuals. Some of the children some of the individuals cannot read or write, so it's prepared from it's prepared visually. Also, it's visual information systems. Who is absent, who is coming as a guest today. All the information given in this panels. After the adaptation period, we go into the observation process. In this process, firstly, we teach the work stream to the employees, and then after individuals with autism start doing their job errorless and smoothly, the withdrawal procedure begins. We gradually fade out our existence and make them work independently. So, what are the achievements that they achieve? You see Arda here. He's packaging the desserts. So at first, his pre-test is 123 seconds for one package, and after he becomes independent, he is doing the packaging in 47 seconds. Now you can see, and all the other employees' productivity increased to 241%. So it's a really great improvement. Let's see the video. As you can see, he's waiting. These some cervical behaviors. After a period of time, he works very well. Also, the problematic behaviors reduced. You will see Dilara here. Dilara is one of the employees who have problem behavior, but nearly all employees have some problem behaviors. We can give an example of motor behavior problems, vocal, accidentally wetting pants, staring, anger. We have that kind of behavior problems. What we now the behavior problems decreases from 100% to 1%. So you can watch the Dilara's videos. Excuse me. But now he has no such behavior. So the financial aspect of the project is another thing that we want to mention you. During the employment process, Eker spends nearly 100,000 euros for human resources, materials, regulations, and all that kind of things. Besides, Turkey Employment Organization paid 27 and 300 euros for our employment model. So the costs are very high. So we have two milestones about the project. First one is to legislate the job coach employment model, and the second is the job coach are paid by government like the other European countries. In order to realize it, we continue to visit Grand National Assembly of Turkey. So this is all we want to mention with you, share with you. So if you have a question, we can answer.
Thank you very much, Nehir and Alperen. It's quite an impressive project. We have quite a few questions, I'm pleased. I will try and go through most of them, well, as many as possible. Quite a few questions talked about, let's say, the context in which the people with autism live in. So, for example, what were they doing before working with you? And also, were they in education, for example, in education facilities? And also, do these people live with their families primarily?
Some of them are in education, are seeking education, but some of them are adults, like 30 years old. So in Turkey, the age of 27 is the legally education period. Sorry for my English. I hope you can understand me. So some of them are in education system, but some are at homes, like doing nothing.
Yep.
Is that an answer for your question?
That is an answer for the question. Yeah, definitely. Another question was on, so of course, you know, only around 30 people with autism in employment is well, definitely not very positive. How do you see this model being scaled up? How do you work? For example, do you engage with other employers to try and promote your project and the outcomes? And what is the reaction of other employers in Turkey?
Actually, there is one employee that wants to realize this project in their company, but it's like a very small group that knows the project, and so we want to spread it throughout the Turkey, and we continue our visits to, as I said, the Assembly of Turkey. So and also the concerns about the project is that how can we manage, or how can we continue to spend money about the job codes? How can we decrease these costs, like because it's very high, and not every company can affordable for the money. So it's the core point of the project, I guess.
And what area? How are you looking at reducing the potential costs? How are you looking at? I mean, what sort of, in terms of the next steps? How do you plan to improve the sustainability? In terms, is it only on a, let's say, are you only relying on needing public support, or are there also other initiatives inside the company that can sort of help to improve the sustainability of the project? I don't know if that's clear. We can't hear you, Nehir.
Sorry for my audio. We want to actually, in Turkey, there is no law about individuals with autism. So if we have that law, then the employees can put their hand sorry.
No problem.
So if we if we can handle with the law in the Turkish law, then we can present this project to the other employees, and they have more comfortable than what is happening than now. So it's very important to having laws like also occupational and health safety, and also the law in EASD. Actually, we have very difficult time about independency of autism, of individuals with autism, because in the company, if there is an accident happen, then the company manager or something like that can responsible of the situation, and it's not that easy to take that risk. So firstly, it's important to make a law, then we can more easily spread it in Turkey. It's the main factor that people don't want to engage in the project, I guess.
And I assume that your project it shows how it can work positively. So hopefully it can influence, let's say, the policy making process.
Yeah.
In that regard, because it shows how it can be done.
But we are positive. We are optimistic about about that situation. Yeah. That's great.
We have so I'm going through a few other questions. Are the people who you're employing, are they working? How do they relate to the other people who work in the organization? Are they integrated or included in the workforce? Are they in separated rooms? How is that done to make sure that there is inclusion, but also that maybe some other elements that people with autism may need are also taken into account?
I couldn't get the question. Alperen, you can.
So the question is basically.
You should unmute your phone.
Alperen, we can't hear you.
Tamam, peki. Can you repeat the question, please?
Our employer with autism work with the other workmates together, not separated, working with together.
So everyone works in one department, in packaging station, and packaging station, yes.
And
with their job pods.
And what has been the reaction from the other staff?
Okay.
First, they surprised and didn't know what to do, didn't know how to act through the individuals with autism, but they get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Var mı başka bir şey?
Yani onlar şu anda aile gibi hissediyorlar ve şu anda bir aydır gitmedikleri için her gün arayıp soruyorlar ne zaman gelecek.
Now the staffs are calling every day where the individuals with autism, where the persons with autism, because they are not going jobs because of the pandemic process. So the other staffs miss the employees with autism.
And so talking about COVID, there was also a question about the pandemic. How, so the decision was taken that these people don't come to the company anymore. Why was that? Is it because of the social distancing rules, or is it because of, why was this? Is it because of insurances, or?
Şöyle açıklayayım. Sorry, I can speak English and Nehir translate for you because my English not good as well as you. Nehir, şu anda kronik hastalıkları oldukları için ve iş yerindeki işçi sayımız pandemi süreci nedeniyle büyük oranda azaldığı için engelliler ve yeni doğum yapmış kadın personellere izin verildi.
All the because they has chronic diseases, and also because of the pandemic, in the factory, all the personnel with disabilities and also pregnant would be like working at home.
And do they, so that's because they are considered as higher risk and therefore
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned the very impressive improvement in behaviors, for example, where at the beginning maybe you had some difficulties there, and how did you deal with the challenges when they arise? And in particular, how did you work with the other staff to sort of, you know, deal with that situation, which is important? Yeah.
As we mentioned, we do awareness seminars for the staff, so they know how to act in a situation like problem behavior. On the other hand, we actually looked at the problem behavior level of the or type of the staff, because it's a factory environment, so everything could be happen. So we should be decide very cautiously, let me say. So we use applied behavior analysis in order to both learn teaching something or reducing the problematic behaviors. So we use applied behavior analysis as a method.
Okay, thank you. There's another comment from Nicole Atta, who says, congratulations for the wonderful project. And she also asks, what is the possibility for growth for the individuals enrolled in the program? Are the individuals supported outside of the program too? So so for these individuals who are employed, what are the growth prospects? What are the long-term prospects? And also, are they supported outside of the program as well?
Yani iş dışında da herhangi bir program.
Onu mu diyor? Hı?
Evet. Evet, onu söylüyor.
Evde mi desteklenmesini diyor? Sen ne diyorsun? Tamam.
Bunu söylüyor, evet.
Tamam. So Alperen and job coach are talking with, calling with the families, parents, nearly every day a week. So, but the programs are working, studying in the homes sessions. No, I would say no. So this is an employment model. So we are working in an employment aspect of the job of the individuals.
Yeah, we have. I also had a question in terms of, so when you, well, firstly, are there many similar projects like yours in Turkey? So is supported employment quite a popular instrument? But also, if it was not, did you work with experiences from other countries and learn from what was happening in other countries? For example, I mean, was the project developed only within the Turkish context? But you mentioned you have colleagues in France. Did you work with people outside of Turkey as well?
Actually, the Andros firm, which is the
Fransa'nın süt üreticisi Andros firması.
Andros, which is a company in France, they do currently this model of employment. So we their managers are going to the France and see the model, and then they come to Turkey and see how search for how to make it real in Turkey. So it's a model, but in Turkey, it's the first project that is done for individuals with autism in a job coach supported model in Turkey.
That's great. Another question is, of course, this project focuses on people with autism spectrum disorder. do you think it could also work with other people with different other forms of disabilities, for example, people with Down syndrome or etc.? Or do you think changes are needed?
Of course, it fits well. Also, in Turkey, the Down syndrome foundation has its own models and own studies about employment. They have cafes, Down cafes, and like that kind of job opportunities for the Down syndrome, and also they are more social and more more socially good at. Sorry, I begin my sentence.
No, we understand, yeah.
So Down syndrome has more social personalities, so they can find jobs or they can talk. Many of them can talk, so they can express themselves more better than the individuals with autism, and also they work in their areas. But as a perspective of autism, what was the question?
No, how it can, I mean, your project focuses on autism, but also do you think it could be applied in very similar way with people with other forms of support needs?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it can be. But we are the foundation of autism, so we work with individuals with autism. But it can be imply in other disabilities too.
Yeah, great. There's a question about, so of course we're talking about employing people with autism, but each person is individual in their abilities, but also in their support needs, etc. How has the program adapted to the individual needs of each person? And also, have you worked with staff, like other staff, in terms of potentially providing mentorship to the people, to the new employees with autism? So 2 questions. Firstly, how have you adapted to the specific individual needs that some people may have? And secondly, is there like a mentorship program between employees with autism and employees without autism?
Actually, we have. First of all, I'm answering the second question because it's more shorter. So there is no mentor like that, but we have Miss Ayşe, let's say, Sister Ayşe, that manage the packaging area for them. She brings the products and she sent back to products like that. Like that procedure, and also the first question is.
Now I forgot. No, how do you adapt?
Yeah, I remember. We use, I think applied behavior analysis, and it's supported the individualistic systems for each individuals. So we use that method. You could see the visual systems of the visual systems that we prepare for the people with autism. So every system is differs from another because of the characteristics of the individual. So we prepare all the materials specific to an individual.
Yeah. In terms of the recruitment of the autism, what were the criteria that you were looking for as a business as well? I mean, when you were recruiting people, there was the process that you explained. What were the main criteria that you were looking for?
Actually,
biz şey diyebiliriz burada. Bizim değerlendirme formlarımız var. Ve biz sadece hafif otizmlerin değil, 4 tane hafif, 4 tane orta, 4 tane ağır düzeyde otizmle istihdam ediyoruz.
We do some evaluation, and it's not we do not employ some specific type of autism like atypical autism like that. We want every sample of the autism exists in the factory. So, but the main thing that we look in the process of employment is not having more devastating, disruptive behaviors like hitting, like throwing something like that, like that.
Yeah.
Yani tabii. Değerlendirme formlarımız zaten davranışlarını, öz bakım becerilerini, motor becerilerini değerlendirip ondan sonra işe arıyoruz.
And we evaluate the motor skills, social skills, and behavior skills like other academic skills. So we have an evaluation form, and we fill that form, and then we employ the employee if they are appropriate for the job. So the process is like that.
And one last question, what particularly I think really is interesting in this project is the very close link between a business, a very large business, and also an organization, an NGO, a non-government organization with more expertise in the field of autism. How was that partnership set up? Who initiated the relationship between you two organizations?
Actually, Eker comes to us. Yes, am I right, Alperen?
Yes.
Eker comes and says we want to make a project like this. Would you want to contribute to the project? We said, of course, we want to contribute. We really happy to be a part of this project. So they found us.
That's great to hear such a large company wanting to do more in this field. That's definitely something that we need more. But also what this shows is that it can work in practice, and it's not just a cost for the company. It's also the overall productivity works very well. All employees seem to be happier at work, and that really shows the other effects that must be taken into account as well. So thank you to both of our speakers today, and also for the excellent work that you've done. This webinar will be put online afterwards, along with the PowerPoint presentation. And you can also find in the chat box on the right different email addresses for if you have any more questions for the two speakers today.
Of course.
But that's it for our webinar. Maybe you would like to have some last words, Alperen and Nehir?
Thank you very much for everything.
I'm writing my email in the chat section right now, and thank you for participating in our presentation. Thank you very much to be to make us a part of the conference. Thank you.
Well, thanks for your great work, and keep it up. All the best. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you.